everyone, my name is Brittany Hart and welcome back to The 3 Show. We've got plenty to talk about here this week, so let's jump right on into things. Starting our recap off in the Central Division, the Rochester Grizzlies traveled to Missouri to take on the Junior Blues, sweeping their two-game series and entering the Tuesday 10 in the number 10 slot. As the now third team in the Central, the Grizzlies were forced to overtime during Game 1, with Ben Parents banking home the OT winner with the final score of 6-5. Rochester continued their momentum during Game 2 with the final score of 5-1 as Andrew Leahy scored 2 goals to aid his team to victory. The Binghamton Buzz also entered the Tuesday 10 in the number 7 slot after a weekend sweep over the Northeast Generals. As we talked about in last week's episode, this was a huge series for the Buzz, and they proved that they were a force to be reckoned with in the East Division. Netminder Dalton Elliott was named Star of the Week as he stood tall between the pipes for both games with a goals against average of 1 and a save percentage of .973. The Bozeman Ice Dogs and Badlands Sabres had quite the weekend, with each team picking up a win during their two-game series. Game 1 was arguably the best game of the day as the two teams headed to a shootout, Bozeman coming away with a 3-2 victory. Ice Dogs netminder Brett DeVincent had a stellar performance in net, earning himself weekly honors after he had a 51 of 53 save game. Badlands had a demanding night 2 performance with a 4-0 shutout over their rivals as 4 different players found the net for Brooks Mitchell and the band. The Texas Brahmas continued to be the powerhouse of the South, still maintaining a perfect record of 8-0, the longest active win streak in the league. Scoring a combined 14 goals on the weekend, the Brahmas are tied for the most goals in the division with 40, while remaining the fewest goals against with 7 goals allowed over the course of their 8 games. Finishing things out in the West, the Alexandria Blizzard extended their win streak to 3 with an overall record of 3-2-0 after a sweep over the Wilmer Warhawks. Eli Fletcher was named Star of the Week after recording a hat-trick during Friday's 8-3 victory, and followed up by notching 3 assists on Saturday as the Blizzard took home win 2 of the weekend by a score of 5-1. Speaking of the Alexandria Blizzard, let's highlight an NA3HL alumni who is finding success at the NAHL level. Jamison O'Flynn suited up for the Alexandria Blizzard during the 2022-2023 season, helping the team make a run to the Fraser Cup Finals in St. Louis, Missouri. Throughout his 20 games in Alexandria, the Columbus, Ohio native recorded 14 points, 9 of which during the postseason. Looking forward to the current year, Jamison is playing for the Minnesota Mallards, a first-year organization in the NAHL. With 8 games played to date, the Blue Liner has been able to contribute offensively for his squad, tallying 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points, maintaining a plus-minus of +7. When asked about O'Flynn, Mallard's head coach Terry Watt stated, "Jamison is a pro. He shows up every day with a smile on his face and competes hard and makes everyone around him better. He's loved by his teammates, and I couldn't be more proud of the awesome start he's had this season." To finish out the episode, let's take a look at this weekend's games. Starting in the Central, the first place Wausau Cyclones and the second place Wisconsin Woodsmen take part in a home-and-home series, the first game being held at Marathon Park in Wausau. The home opener for the Black and Yellow will be quite exciting as this marks the first time these two organizations will face off this season. When looking back at last season, the Cyclones won the series against the Woodsmen, winning all 6 games. Wisconsin will be out for blood as they look to seek revenge and capture first place in the division. Looking at the East, the Norwich Sea Captains and Maine Nordiques enter their weekend battle, both on a 3-game winning streak. As a new franchise, Maine is looking to assert dominance against a hot Sea Captains squad. With this being their first meeting in Maine's franchise history, this will for sure be a series to watch. The biggest battle of the weekend is undoubtedly the series between the Helena Bighorns and Sheridan Hawks. As the number 1 and number 2 teams in the Frontier, both teams have had these games circled on their calendars, and fans are looking forward to getting rowdy at Steed Arena. When looking at the standings, the Bighorns sit just 1 point ahead of Sheridan, despite the Hawks having 1 game in hand, and the outcome of these games could have a huge impact on the standings and the Tuesday 10. In the West, the Minnesota Wilderness will host the Mason City Toros for a Saturday night tilt. These two organizations have already faced off 3 times this season, with Mason City taking home 2 of the 3 wins, one of which taking place last weekend. During the 6-4 Toros victory, TJ Gibson banked home 2 goals for Mason, being named second Star of the Week, and will be a player to watch during this matchup. Rounding things out in the South, the Louisiana Drillers are back in action after taking last week off and will travel to Atlanta for a 3-game set. As the third place in the South Division, riding a 5-game win streak, the Drillers are hoping to keep the momentum going in the right direction. With 4 players recording a point or more per game, the offense seems to be clicking in Louisiana with 40 goals for compared to their 20 goals against. That does it for this week's episode of The 3 Show, and as always, be sure to tune in on NATV and follow along on our website.